Hey guys, this is Jessica Arnold here, back again with another video. You guys showed a lot of love to the Launcher Stratus video I made recently, and I want to do another history video soon. I really do. But I also have not done a list video for a very long time, and I think it would be only appropriate if I did another one. The last video, which was a list video, went not the last video, anyways. My last list video, yeah, went really well. Not really well, anyways. It had about 86 views, not too bad, but not too good as well. So I'm hoping I can improve with this history video, and I can stop mumbling as I previously did. Anyways, that last video was about top 10 best Audis, but the time for us to talk about everybody's other favorite German car brand, Mercedes. Yeah, this video is about the top 10 best Mercedes. So before we jump into the video, please
Number
remember
10,
to
the
like,
Mercedes
comment, subscribe, and
R63
share.
AMG.
And
Yes, the
let's
R
start.
Class. Before you question my sanity or roll your eyes out, hear me out. This is one of the most weirdest, most glorious sounding anomalies to ever come out of the Affenselbach. I butchered that spelling. It's a 7-seater luxury van powered by a 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8. You'd think that sentence was a typo, but no, this thing actually exists. So here's the backstory. Mercedes decided in the mid 2000s that they wanted to invent a new category of vehicle called a sports tourer. What they ended up making was a sort of minivan, a sort of an SUV, a sort of a luxury cruiser. Enter the R Class. It had space for 6 or 7 people, all-wheel drive, and rides smoother than most SUVs. Pretty damn stuff until AMG got involved. In 2007, someone at AMG must have said, you know what would have made this better? A giant 6.2 liter V8. And so they shoved the iconic M156 V8 into it, the same engine that will be present in a later entry C63 AMG, E63 AMG, and SLS AMG, and called it the R63 AMG. So let's talk numbers for a minute. 503 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque, and 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in around 4.6 seconds. 7-speed G-tronic transmission and all-wheel drive for full family launch control. The thing was an absolute freight train, and it's still hilarious to this day watching clips of the R63 drag racing Mustangs and winning. You could drop the kids off at school and gap a 911 on the way back home. A Porsche 911, to be clear. Now, was it practical? Kind of. Was it expensive? Oh yeah. Around 90,000 US dollars back then, which meant most buyers just went for a Cayenne Turbo or for an S-Class. As a result, Mercedes sold basically none, and there were about 200 to 300 units ever produced globally, a few dozen in North America, and it's rarer than most Ferraris and can carry more passengers than a Sprinter. And despite its awkward proportions and identity crisis, the R63 actually drives well. The air suspension was tuned tighter, the brakes were beefed up, and it handled way better than a nearly 3-ton man had any right to. The exhaust note, pure V8 bliss. Interior, peak mid-2000s Mercedes luxury, which maybe isn't saying much, maybe it is, I don't know, I have never experienced it. Now, in full honesty, the R63 is not for everyone. Most of us, it's not for me and you, but if it is, that's cool. It guzzles you like a divorced dad guzzles drinks. It has the repairs, the AMG parts of the body style they barely made, not cheap, and never figured out what it wanted to be. Muscle van, luxury cruiser, or spaceship for suburban dads the lead foot. So maybe that's why some of us love it. It's so apologetically odd, and Mercedes took a dare with which they followed through. Something that we probably will never see Mercedes do again. So it's kind of the car that people at car meets walk and take a double take and ask what it is. Or if they are really well versed, they say, do I think, is it what I think it is? Anyways, if you want to get even more niche, the R63 shares its digit with many other cars. But anyways, about the R63. On to the next entry. Mercedes A45 AMG. Let's start with the specs. I've been glazing Mercedes for a while now, and I definitely am not going to stop. Anyways, AMG, as AMG does, they work their magic on the A-Class small hatchback. So what do you put in this AMG? A 2-liter inline 4, but wait, before you click off, this isn't your ordinary inline 4. This one has a spoolie snail, a turbo. So how much does it make is the $77,900 question. Yep, that's how much it costs. This car does not make 2, no, not 3, but a grand total of 415 horsepower and 500 newton meters of torque from the 2-liter four-banger. Add in Mercedes 4MATIC all-wheel drive and an 8-speed flappy paddle transmission that you have got a spicy pocket rocket with a top speed of 270 kilometers per hour at 160, which is 168 miles per hour, and a 3.9 second 0 to 60. With its multi-link front-end rear suspension, Mercedes has made a modern track-focused Audi Quattro. Not particularly the record-setting and braking legend as a Quattro, it still does hold some records, like the longest continuous drift record setter in India at 10 minutes and 23 seconds. Did I mention it also has active aero? Because it does. The rear wing at the AMG S of the A45 has a hood. Yeah, a hood and the rear wing has some active aerodynamics. But that's all I have to say for this very cool car. We move on to the next entry, which is right now. Number 8, Mercedes AMG GT. It will be a little surprising to see the AMG GT solo down on this list, but there are a few reasons. Let's get on to the good parts first. In its decade-long history now, 2014 was 11 years ago. The AMG GT has had an interesting life. Originally unveiled at the Paris Motor Show, the AMG GT had two options of a naturally aspirated V8 and an AMG biturbo V8 in the GTS. The GT had a power output of 456 horsepower, which was quite spicy to begin with, and the S variant had 503 horsepower. Though this wasn't the end, Mercedes also gave us a GTR variant and the Black Series, all staples of Mercedes' performance line. Coupled with a 7-speed AMG Speedshift DCT and a 7 G-tronic dual-clutch transmission, the GT was nothing to scoff at. One gripe though was that this car couldn't decide whether to be a Grand Tourer or a sports car. So suspension is not really there in all the versions. It is not quite the Grand Tourer, but in my opinion I really like the performance versions. And the new one is basically based on a Grand Tourer, like the SL Class. Why are there so many honkings in the background? I don't even know. Anyways, yeah, so one of my favorites is the GT3 edition. Look that up. I really don't think I can afford so much content space on this here. Anyways, and I also, it's one of my favorites because I have a Hot Wheels edition. Don't judge me, please. Anyways, this version, GT3 version, used the 6.2-liter SLS AMG engine and a lot of bits and bobs to make it more performance-oriented. It's particularly dominant in not just the GT3 car, but the race versions have a total of 121 victories and 216 class victories. Notably, it achieved a 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6th place. I don't know why they couldn't get the 5th place. Anyways, at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring in 2016. As the second-gen GT, well, I don't particularly like it as much, and the styling is a bit bland and the suspension is still As I said, it couldn't decide whether to be a Grand Tourer or whether to be a sports car, supercar. Anyways, on to the next really big put off. Number 7, the Mercedes 300 SL. The first supercar made by Mercedes that solidified its hold on the performance market even before the AMG was the 300 SL. But its performance was not the first thing that came to mind while buying it. It was another variant which had some special doors called the gull-wing doors. These doors was as special as the cars they were put on. They opened upwards instead of sideways, and many cars were sold with the gull-wing variant. But onto the other specs. The car had a 3-liter inline 6, which has become a staple for German brands for quite some time right now. And before as well, a 4-speed manual transmission, which may not sound like much right now, but back then a 4-speed was pretty good. Anyways, the coupe had a curb weight of 1500 kilograms and a convertible was slightly heavier at 1560 kilograms. This car was relatively light. Yeah, can you believe it? And named as the Super Light. It was actually light. Anyways, also called the SL, abbreviated. It references the car's racing-bred lightweight construction, having a top speed of 260 km per hour and about 162 miles per hour. A special version called the 300 SLR, the Uhlenhaut Coupe, was also built, with only 2 cars being made. It is the rarest Mercedes, with one only belonging in the hands of a private collector. It achieved a triple victory in Bern, double victories at Le Mans and the Carrera Panamericana in Mexico, a quadruple victory at the Nürburgring, according to the Mercedes Museum. Though the Gullwing variant was popular despite being 110 kilograms heavier. 110 kilograms. I just said 60. Anyways, a little bit of a gray area there, but I'll continue on. Yeah, the car continued up until 1957, where it was replaced with a 230 SL and its variants. All in all, it was a great classic revered among car collectors today. You may see that, as I was saying, that there might be a lot of AMGs on this list. This is not one of them, but still, pretty cool car in its own respect. On to the next entry then. Number 6, the Mercedes G-Wagon. It's one of the cars you're all waiting for, the Mercedes G-Wagon. Every rich rapper, celebrity, spoiled rich kid's favorite pavement princess. Originally made by Mercedes for military use as a special order for the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. I guess that's what it says. Yeah. And let's just say that he couldn't collect it because a few things happened. He had an order of 20,000 G-Wagons, but yeah, so let's just say that he couldn't collect them. Anyways, so what did Mercedes do? They made a military and a civilian version and shipped them to whoever wants them. So it was a far cry from the G-Class we all know and love, or may or may not love today. But yeah, long story short, the G-Class was initially a farmer's daily, everyday rugged SUV built with a range of engines from an inline 4 to an inline 5 and even a Peugeot engine. It's wild. All producing about 150 to 200 horsepower. The G-Class was one of the longest running nameplates of Mercedes at 45 years old, and the nameplate is still going strong today with an updated chassis in 2020. The G-Class also has its AMG and Brabus variants like the G63 AMG, which had a 4-liter V8 producing about 570 horsepower and a monstrous 850 Newton meters of torque with a 4-wheel drive system which gives it awesome grip. The G-Class also had a 6x6 variant, which is a one-off produced by AMG, the one that you're seeing sliding around right here. Yeah, and also a weird convertible called a Landaulet. It also had its forays into racing. One of the previous clips you just saw. It was a very good rally car. It won the Dakar Rally. It won the Dakar Rally and had multiple titles. Also, it was a very good mechanic car for the Porsche guys. Yeah, the 959, believe it or not. Anyways, the GLA, which Mercedes tried to offer as the G-Class alternative to people who lived in cities, did not work well. The people wanted the boxy design of the G-Wagon, and frankly, the story of the G-Class is huge and storied, and I can't sum it up into one interview without missing out on some and many facts. So it's safe to say I need to make another video on this. Yeah, a standalone history video on the G63 AMG, yeah. Not only the 6x6, the entire... Not even the G63, the entire G-Wagon, yeah. I had to make an entire video on the G-Wagon. I'm getting sidetracked here, so on to the next entry. Number 5, Mercedes 600. Now it's time for an actual luxurious Mercedes. The Grosser Mercedes, or 600 W100 generation, yeah, that's a mouthful there, is the car that defines the essence of Mercedes, that is, luxury. And what does every luxurious car have in common? I'll wait for your answer in the comments. Yes, that's right. Celebrities love them, dictators love them, and criminals love them too. This car was owned by people like Marshal Joseph Tito, Pablo Escobar, Elvis Presley, Jay Leno. I don't think he's a criminal or a dictator. Not yet, I think. Jeremy Clarkson. Yeah, he could be dictator material. Anyways, the entire Kim family up to Kim Jong-un. And last but not the least, not even slightly, Mao Zedong. The 600 series is not the first and definitely not the last Mercedes to be used by politicians, celebrities, dictators. I'd say it with me now, criminals. Mercedes gave this thing a huge presence with a weight of 2,990 to 3,280 kilograms. With its, for the time, powerful 247 horsepower V8, the car boasted ostentation. It was everything that dictators loved and the exact sentiment they taught their people to hate. In fact, the 600 Grosser is so luxurious, Wikipedia classes it as an ultra luxurious vehicle. Now, you know that's luxurious. Anyways, the more you know. Well, on to the things we actually care about. The Mercedes special little thing that the Grosser had up its wheel well was that it had a fantastic hydraulic operated system. The system was extremely complex, utilizing pressurized hydraulic fluid, which was oil, I think, to control everything. The seats, the boot lid, sunroof, ventilator, flap, air conditioning. On early models, the system was also able to pull the doors in if they weren't fully latched, acting as an early form of self-closing doors. Cue the, again, more music. Anyways, the closed loop hydraulic system was powered by an engine driven pump that pressurized the fluid to around 150 bar. For you Americans there, that's 2176 psi. This was perfect for cutting out the people who were your political rivals. One of the many reasons the dictators loved it. And so, what did Mercedes do for them then? Yeah, they gave them a limousine called the Pullman. And also, they gave them a bulletproof version called the Pullman Guard. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, very cool. Anyways, next entry. Mercedes 500E. Yes, now I think it's time to have a luxurious, restful ride. Yeah, just kidding. The pressure is on. Yes, still, we have the pressure up. We have the Mercedes 500E now. Based on the W124 E-Class chassis, Mercedes again made a collaboration with an unlikely company. The reason why you saw Porsche on the top there. Anyways, the designers, execs, and engineers at this time were busy making the next gen S-Class. You know, very important things. So they couldn't be bothered about making a performance C-Class. Entered Porsche, and there is the engineering expertise. I just realized that Porsche also helped make the Audi RS2, so they've been in bed with many German companies. Yeah. Anyways, Porsche in 1989 redesigned the W124 chassis along with the necessary changes to the suspension system and drivetrain to accommodate the wider, monstrous 5-liter M119 V8 engine. And as a result, the 500E was born. This is the car that certain European organizations used to uphold certain tax laws and other rules. So that 322 horsepower from that gorgeous sounding V8, and its styling was the quintessential late 80s and early 90s rounded box shape. Yeah, it had rounded box shape, which was in line with the 80s and 90s styling with some pretty sweet box flares. Anyways, so it was too bad. It was ruined by a mere 4-speed automatic gearbox. Anyways, it was called the Wolf in Sheep's Clothing by the press and had an impressive, for the time, 5.5 second 0 to 60 miles per hour or 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, and a quarter mile time of 14.1 seconds at a top speed of 163 kilometer per hour, 101 miles per hour. The top speed was, though, mechanically limited to 250 kilometers per hour. Yeah, that was quarter mile top speed. Anyways, before it had which was 155.3 miles per hour, though with a slight tune with drive ratios and some AMG parts, you could make it much more faster. There was also an AMG variant, but that is another story for another day. So, on to the next one now. Number 3, Mercedes CLK GTR. Moving away from the road-going models for a moment, but going no less crazy, we have the CLK GTR. Though it's not the one that I identified as a plane later on, that was the CLR. But now we'll talk about the CLK, having a monstrous 6.9 liter, haha, nice, V12 engine. Maybe Mercedes knew something about that number. The CLK was initially built on a McLaren F1 chassis as a prototype, and the S70 V12 being exchanged for a Mercedes AMG powered V12. This gave Mercedes a car with 604 horsepower and with a crazy amount of bodywork, giving the car a top speed of 330 kilometers per hour. Not many road-going cars were made, but a few were homologated under the Strassen version designation. I will come back to the Strassen version. I definitely butchered the spelling in a moment. But another cool thing about this Mercedes was the use of carbon fiber. And as McLaren was involved at some point, you know they went overboard in the carbon fiber. How overboard? Well, the CLK had a chassis of carbon fiber aluminium honeycomb monocoque. The brakes, they were also carbon fiber composite. The clutch, finally, was also made of this composite as a 4-plate carbon clutch. All this combined made the car a featherweight at 1,000 kilograms. Now the road-going cars were no less special. They had been 28 in number, with 2 being prototypes, 20 coupes, and 6 roadsters. One roadster was painted dark silver with a purple interior for the Sultan of Brunei and was sold to Indian businessman Vijay Mallya in 2009. Vijay Mallya now is a known Indian fugitive who once owned the Indian F1 team Sahara Force. I'm telling you, people, it's all linked. Sahara Force now belongs to Canadian millionaire Lawrence Stroll. Anyways, the car won FIA GT championships in 1997, 98, and Mercedes got both the constructors and drivers championships in those years. The car participated in 13 races and won on the podium 8 times. It also set 7 fastest lap records. Yeah, so this, before we go to the second entry, we are going to be talking about some special mentions because I didn't think they were good enough to make the list because this list isn't my opinion and I do what I want on my channel. Anyways, we had the 190 Evo. It got trashed by BMW, so I didn't put it in there. Then the SLS AMG and the Pagani Zonda. The SLS AMG, I think the other entry which qualified is better, and the Zonda is not a Mercedes. So on to the next entry. Number 2, Mercedes C63 AMG. Okay, now just to be clear, I am not talking about the new C63, I'm only talking about the W204 and W205 generation. So I cleared it up, okay? Now on to the video. Mercedes has added a lot of spice to cars through AMG, and I know one or two about spices. This is a more affordable entry, well, at least compared to the last one. Whenever Mercedes is making a car, AMG will get their hands on it. So it is natural that we talk about the epic C63 AMG. The C63 AMG was a quintessential C-Class AMG. It had a raw V8 up until very recently, very sadly. The W204 AMG is a prime pick, having 450 horsepower in the base edition to 510 horsepower from a 6.2-litre NA V8 in the black edition. Rear-wheel drive, 7-speed AMG speed shift, DCT transmission. All these factors combined make the AMG a German muscle car. Yeah, so even more power was on tap from the following generation, the W205, albeit with a smaller engine, a 4.4-litre twin-turbo V8. AMG employed 2 Spoolie Boy turbos to kick the horsepower from 450 to 469. Haha, nice. And the C63S to 503 horsepower and 0 to 100 kilometers per hour of about 4 seconds. Some special edition AMGs also wore the all-wheel drive badging, giving it the true AMG performance. After that, well, we don't talk about the C63 after that. Right now, on to the next one. Number 1, the Mercedes McLaren SLR. How time flies. Feels like we were just at the 5th entry. Anyways, time for the last one. But revealed at the 1999 North American International Auto Show, the jointly developed Mercedes McLaren was nothing to scoff at. 5.4-litre supercharged V8, producing 670 horsepower and 575 pound-feet of torque at 6500 RPM. Its normal form, quote-unquote, and 738 horsepower, and above 700 pound-feet of torque in the Sterling Moss edition. Pretty cool, right? I say joint development, but most of the car was actually built by McLaren with a few touches from Mercedes. This included refining suspension from all-out track car to more luxurious touring car, something that your grandpa could drive to get groceries on Monday, but you could technically take out to a track on Sunday if you wanted to, or the charity ball if you're uber rich. The acceleration was there as well, with having enough oomph to propel you from standstill to 60 miles per hour, 97 kilometers per hour, in 3.4 seconds. It also had a Lysom type twin screw supercharger, rotating at a maximum of 23,000 RPM and producing 0.9 bar, 13 psi of boost. Top speed was 207 miles per hour, 333 kilometers per hour. And the power was being sent to the rear wheels of a Mercedes G-Tronic 5-speed automatic transmission with 3 manual modes of shifting. To protect you while you crashed at 207 miles per hour, Mercedes also had a solution. Enter lots of carbon fiber, lots and lots of it. Carbon fiber reinforced plastic, now we know what 2000 Chryslers got their plastic, was used, but still, it was a really chonky boy, having 1,750 kilograms or about 3,800 pounds. To top it all off, Mercedes even gave the car active aero, which could be used as an air brake or reducing drag. Cars were made between 2003 and 2010, and just above 2000 were made, capping off this legendary Grand Tourer. So guys, that was the video. Tell me how you liked it in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'm guessing that's all. I think for this month, I'm not sure when I will find my YouTube password again, but that's really cool. Anyways, I was also thinking about launching a new podcast. Its name is Need for Speed, so watch out for that one. That will come out with an episode. And after that, I don't know when I'll post another video again. Maybe in the next 2 months, maybe in the next 3 months. Who knows? I'll keep you guys posted up. So, anyways, have a good day. Have a great day. And yeah, as always, goodbye. Have a nice day. Bye.